Breathing stutters, not panic, control slipping. Something warm spreads beneath a body that does not collapse. It refuses to. A shadow moves closer, calm, too calm for this kind of night. A voice, low, steady, cuts through the ringing. Don't move. If you move, you bleed out. A pause, not waiting for permission, measuring damage. Eyes on me, stay here. Hands pressed down, firm, certain, professional. Not gentle, but careful. Like the difference matters. Another breath, shallower this time. The voice softens, just enough to be dangerous. I know who you are. That should have been the end of it. Instead, there's a sharp inhale, decision made in a fraction of a second. Metal clicks. Medical kit opens. Don't mistake this for mercy, the voice continues, closer now. This is a choice. Pressure increases. Pain flares. The world narrows. Somewhere far away, sirens scream. Too late. I walk away, the voice says quietly, almost to itself, and you die in 3 minutes. A beat. I stay, and nothing after tonight stays the same. Hands move faster now, efficient, skilled, committed. Blood is stopped, not cleaned, not yet. Breathe with me, the voice commands, disguised as care. Not because you deserve it, because I said so. Another pause. Final. Absolute. I'm saving you. And in that moment, before the city can interfere, before consequences can speak, the line is crossed. Unfixable. Unforgivable. Done. The pressure doesn't ease. It adjusts. Like the hands know exactly how much pain keeps someone conscious. Another burst of noise cracks nearby, too close. Footsteps, shouting, engines tearing through streets that don't forgive mistakes. The voice doesn't rise. It never does. Stay with me. A strip is torn, wrapped, tightened with precision that comes from repetition, not theory. You don't get shot like this unless people are trying to make a point, the voice says calmly. And people don't make points like this unless you're the one who owns the message. A breath is released, controlled, knowing. So that's confirmed. A pause, heavier than the gunfire. You're the one they call when no one else is brave enough to answer. Not admiration, recognition. The hands hesitate, just once. And I'm the one they call when bodies hit pavement on the wrong side of the city. That lands harder than any bullet. Another explosion echoes. Glass shatters somewhere above. The city is still fighting, even if this corner has gone quiet. A radio crackles from the medic's shoulder. Static. A voice calling for status. The hands freeze. The medic turns the volume down without answering. That silence is louder than anything else. You hear that? The voice says quietly, almost conversational. That's my people, looking for me. The pressure resumes, faster now. Which means I need to finish this before they realize where I am. A sharp breath is drawn. Anger this time, not pain. You shouldn't be here, the wounded woman murmurs, voice rough but unbroken. The medic lets out something between a breath and a laugh. Bitter. No, I shouldn't. Another wrap, another seal. Blood slowed, not gone. I patch civilians. I drag kids out of burning cars. I close wounds that aren't supposed to be political. A pause. Closer now. The voice lowers. But you? You're the reason my route changed tonight. The medic leans in, blocking the streetlight, turning the world smaller. If anyone finds out I'm saving you, the voice says, steady but sharp, I'm dead. Not a threat, a fact. A siren wails. Closer now. Not police. Wrong pitch. Rival engines growl at the edge of hearing. Violence presses in from all sides, impatient. The medic tightens the last bandage and finally looks fully at her. Open your eyes, the voice orders. They open. No fear there, just calculation. Power wounded, not gone. The medic exhales slowly, Yeah, the voice murmurs. That look tracks. Another radio call. Louder. Urgent. The medic switches it off completely. That action, small, deliberate, changes everything. From this moment on, the voice says quietly, every step I take with you breathing is a betrayal. A beat. Hands slide under her shoulders, not lifting yet. Testing weight. Commitment. And I'm still not letting you die. Somewhere nearby a door slams open. Footsteps break into a run. The city is closing in, and the forbidden choice has already been made. The lift doesn't come gently. It never does. Still, she doesn't cry out. The paramedic feels it immediately. The weight isn't physical, it's presence. Even injured, even bleeding, the woman being moved does not surrender her center. Not that arm. The command is quiet, hoarse, precise. And the paramedic pauses, only a fraction of a second, then adjusts her grip without comment. A test. Passed. They move through a narrow passage between buildings. Trash. Steam. Flickering light. The kind of place deals are broken and bodies disappear. You're favoring your left leg, the wounded woman says, breath measured. Old injury. The paramedic exhales through her nose. Focus on breathing. That wasn't a question. Another test. The paramedic doesn't answer. Silence is her defense. Silence and steady hands. She sets the woman down behind a half-collapsed door. Metal groans. Shelter. Not safety. The medic kneels. Opens the kit again. Efficient, clean, controlled. Don't touch that, the woman says, eyes tracking the movement. I need to check the wound, the medic replies calmly. You already did. I need to check it again. A stare locks in, heavy, assessing. You're used to people doing what you say. The medic continues, not looking up. But right now, I outrank you. The words hang there, dangerous, not loud, not disrespectful, just true. For the first time, something flickers across the woman's face. Not anger, interest. You have no idea who you're talking to, she says. The medic tightens a strap, doesn't flinch. I know exactly who you are, she replies, and I know what you are when you're bleeding. Another explosion rattles the walls. Dust drifts down. The woman's jaw tightens. Not from pain, from restraint. You're standing between me and my city, she says slowly. That's not a safe place to be. The medic finally looks up. Eyes meet. No fear. No reverence. Then we're even, she says evenly. You're standing between me and my conscience. A beat. The woman exhales through her teeth. Almost a laugh. Almost. You think this is conscience? She gestures weakly at the blood, the chaos outside. This is survival. The medic tapes the last seal, presses firmly. This is a choice, she replies. Survival is what happens after. Silence stretches, thick, charged. The woman shifts slightly, testing the bandage, testing the medic's reaction. Looser, she says. No. Another pause. Now you're lying, the woman murmurs. It could be looser. Yes, the medic agrees calmly. And it shouldn't be. The woman studies her like a weapon she hasn't decided how to use yet. You don't break, she says quietly. The medic gathers her tools. Methodical. Guarded. People try, she replies. And footsteps echo outside, closer now. Searching. The woman's voice lowers. They're not yours? No, the medic says. They're yours. A faint smile curves the woman's mouth. Sharp. Controlled. Then you should run. The medic doesn't move. Not yet. Another test. Another line held. Outside, the city continues to hunt. Inside, something far more dangerous settles into place. Not attraction, not trust. Recognition. Two forces aligned temporarily. Not because they agree, but because neither bends. The noise outside thins, not gone, just pushed farther away, like danger pacing instead of charging. The wounded woman leans back against the wall, not slumped, placed. Every movement is calculated to cost her the least blood, the least weakness. "You're wondering how someone like me ends up bleeding in an alley," she says quietly. The medic doesn't look up. She cleans her hands, changes gloves. "I'm wondering how much time we have." A soft breath, almost amused. "That's not the same thing." Silence settles again. Heavy, patient. Then the woman speaks, not because she needs to, but because she chooses to. "I wasn't born into this," she says. "No crowns, no legacy handed down." Her gaze drifts, not to the street, but inward. "I learned early that power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being necessary." The medic listens without reacting. That's her rule. You don't interrupt bleeding. You don't interrupt confession. "They killed the man who taught me that," the woman continues. "Not because he was weak, because he hesitated." A pause. Mercy looks like hesitation to people who want what you have. The medic tightens a wrap, slower now. Careful. "So you removed it," she says. "Yes." No pride, no apology. "I learned who betrays you when they think you're still human," the woman goes on. "I learned who smiles while planning your replacement." Her jaw tightens. "I learned that love is a liability everyone expects you to carry." She exhales through her nose. So I stopped. Outside, a car roars past. Too fast. Too deliberate. "I survived because I chose the city over people," she says. "And I won because I never forgot the price." The medic finishes, sits back on her heels. "You sound certain," she says. "I am. And alone." The word lands, sharp, not cruel, observant. The woman turns her head slightly. "Lonely people want comfort," she replies. "I want control." The medic nods once, accepts that. She begins packing her kit, one item at a time. "My world doesn't reward control," she says calmly. "It rewards response time." The woman watches her now. "I wasn't always here either," the medic continues. "I learned medicine in clean rooms, white lights, straight rules." A faint smile flickers, gone as soon as it appears. But emergencies don't wait for permission, and neither do neighborhoods like this. She closes the kit, then opens it again, checks something. A habit. "I stayed because someone had to," she says. "Someone had to show up when sirens didn't." The woman's eyes narrow slightly. "You work for them," she says. Not a question. "I work around them." A correction. Important. "I save whoever's bleeding," the medic continues. "Gang colors don't change anatomy." A pause. "Until tonight." The woman tilts her head. "And tonight?" The medic doesn't answer immediately. She looks at her hands instead. "There are rules," she says quietly. "You don't cross lines you can't uncross." Her jaw tightens. "You don't choose sides." The woman waits, doesn't interrupt. "And you don't save people whose survival tips the scale," the medic finishes. Silence stretches. Outside, a radio crackles faintly, voices calling, names not spoken here. The woman speaks carefully now. "And I tipped it." "Yes." A beat. "Why?" The medic finally looks up. Their eyes meet again. "Because if I didn't," she says evenly, "I become the same kind of person who lets the city decide who deserves to live." The woman studies her, really studies her. "That's expensive morality," she says. "It is. And you just spent it on me." The medic doesn't argue, and the woman exhales slowly. "Saving me," she says, voice low, "will cost more lives than you can count." The medic holds her gaze. "Letting you die," she replies, "would have cost mine." Another pause. That's the conflict. Not abstract, not philosophical, immediate, personal, permanent. The woman looks away first. Then you're already compromised, she says. The medic doesn't deny it. Outside, footsteps return. Closer now. Coordinated. Purposeful. The city hasn't forgotten them. And the weight of the choice made earlier presses harder now. Not on the wound, but on everything that comes after. They don't leave the way people usually leave a crime scene. No rush. No scrambling fear. They move like this was always the plan. The medic waits. Counts. Listens to the rhythm of the street change. The hunters pass once, then twice. Only then does she move. Up, she says quietly. The woman doesn't argue. She braces instead. Pushes through pain without sound. Pride would make noise. Control doesn't. They move through a back stairwell, down instead of up. Concrete. Damp air. The smell of old electricity. The medic keeps one hand exactly where it needs to be. No higher, no lower. Pure function. A door opens to a space that shouldn't exist. A forgotten room beneath a forgotten building. One light flicks on. Dim. Yellow. Sit, the medic says. The woman sits. Not because she's told, because it's efficient. The medic locks the door, then checks it again. Then checks the woman. Vitals. Wound. Bandages. No conversation. Silence stretches, but it doesn't strain. It settles. The woman watches every movement. The way the medic doesn't rush. And the way she doesn't hover either. You're staying, the woman says eventually. It's not a request. The medic doesn't look up. For now. That wasn't what I said. I know. She swaps gloves. Slow. Careful. I stay until you stabilize. The medic continues. After that, you're someone else's problem. The woman lets out a breath. Almost a laugh. Almost approval. You won't leave, she says. The medic tightens a strap. Purposeful pressure. I always leave. Another pause. The woman shifts slightly. Tests the pain. Tests herself. Then you'll leave differently, she replies. The medic says nothing. She cleans the wound again. This time slower. More thorough. Not gentler. More exact. The room is quiet enough to hear breathing synchronize and then drift apart. Care becomes ritual. Checking. Recording. Adjusting. Not affection. Not yet. You could have handed me over, the woman says quietly. Taken your distance. Cleansed your hands. The medic finishes taping. Sits back. I don't cleanse, she says. I contain. She stands. Washes her hands again. The woman studies her reflection in the metal cabinet. Pale. Bloodied. Alive. You don't look at me like the others do, she says. The medic dries her hands. They look up. The woman continues. Or they look away. And I don't. No. The medic meets her eyes briefly. I look for signs of shock, she says. And lies. The woman's mouth curves slightly. Sharp. Controlled. And what do you see? Neither. The medic replies. She checks the door again. Listens. Minutes pass. The woman shifts. The movement is deliberate. Testing limits. Not inviting help. The medic notices immediately. Don't, she says. A single word. Calm. Absolute. The woman stills. Another test. Another line respected. You're careful with me, the woman says. I'm careful with anyone who can still kill me. That's honesty. Yes. Silence returns. Not awkward. Not charged. Occupied. The medic takes a seat across the room. Not close enough to touch. Not far enough to disengage. She checks the time. Makes a note. She should have left already. She knows it. The woman knows it too. You're still here, the woman says. The medic doesn't deny it. Outside, a car passes, then another. Inside, time stretches thin. Not romantic. Not tender. Just two people sharing oxygen in a space where one of them should not have survived. The medic exhales slowly. Rest, she says. The woman leans back, closes her eyes, but not fully. You'll wake me if something changes, she says. Yes. A pause. And you won't disappear. No. That promise is functional, temporary. Still, it holds. The light hums softly, the city waits, and proximity settles into something quiet and dangerous. Not desire, not trust, but continuance. The quiet doesn't last. It never does. The medic is checking the bandage again. Routine, automatic. When the radio she thought she powered down crackles once. Just once. A voice slips through. Distorted. Urgent. Confirmed. That order came from the top. The medic freezes. Not outwardly. Inside. She reaches for the radio, shuts it off completely this time, too late. The woman's eyes are already open. What did you hear? She asks. The medic doesn't answer immediately. She stands, walks to the sink, washes her hands again, too thoroughly. What did you hear? The woman repeats. The medic turns. A sweep, she says evenly. A neighborhood cleared to send a message. The woman's expression doesn't change. Necessary. The word lands wrong. The medic's jaw tightens before she can stop it. You burned the whole block, she says. Shops. Homes. People who didn't even know your name. The woman watches her closely now. They knew who they paid, she replies. Everyone knows. That's a lie, the medic snaps, first crack in her calm. People know what they're allowed to know. Silence drops heavy. The woman shifts slightly, careful of the wound, but her presence sharpens. You don't build an empire by asking permission, she says. You build it by making examples. The medic lets out a slow breath. There was a clinic there, she says, 2 streets down. The woman stills. A small one, the medic continues. Underfunded. Overworked. Her voice stays level, but something underneath strains. I sent someone there once, she says. Someone I trusted. The woman's gaze doesn't waver. They didn't make it out. The room tightens. They were doing their job, the medic says quietly. Helping people who couldn't afford to matter. A pause. They died because you wanted to remind the city who you are. The woman exhales slowly through her nose. You think I don't carry the weight of every order? She asks. You think I don't count? The medic's eyes flash. You count leverage, she says. Not lives. That lands. The woman pushes herself more upright despite the pain. Careful, she warns. You're speaking to someone who spared you. The medic steps closer, not threatening, grounded. You didn't spare me, she says. You just hadn't met me yet. Silence stretches, taut as wire. You lost someone, the woman says slowly. Yes. Because of me. Yes. The woman absorbs that, doesn't deflect, doesn't apologize. That grief, she says, voice low, is why you shouldn't be here. The medic shakes her head. No, she says. It's why I stayed. Another beat. If I had known, the woman begins. You would have done it anyway, the medic interrupts, because you believe the city is a chessboard. The woman's eyes darken. And you believe it's a body, she replies, bleeding everywhere at once. They stand there, opposite sides of the same wound. You think saving me makes you righteous? The woman says. It doesn't. The medic meets her stare. And you think surviving makes you justified, she replies. It doesn't. No shouting, no raised voices, just impact. The woman exhales, leans back slightly, pain catching up now. You should leave, she says, before you hate me enough to make a mistake. The medic doesn't move. I already know who you are, she says. Leaving won't change that. Another pause. And staying, The woman counters, "We'll change who you are." The medic considers that, then nods once. Maybe. The woman studies her. Really studies her. No victory, no surrender. Just two convictions colliding with nowhere to go. Outside, the city keeps breathing, unaware, indifferent. Inside, the line between healer and accomplice blurs, and neither of them looks away. Night settles without ceremony. No dramatic shift, just the slow dimming of the city's pulse. The single light hums softer now, or maybe they've both adjusted to it. The medic moves again, not rushed, not hesitant. "Hold still," she murmurs. Not a command, an instruction shaped by repetition. She checks the wound, peels back the edge of the bandage just enough to see. Blood has slowed, not stopped. The body is negotiating. "Breathe in," she says quietly. The woman does. "Out." She does. Their breathing overlaps for a moment, then separates. The medic corrects the wrap by millimeters. Precision. Respect. Pain tightens the woman's jaw. She doesn't vocalize it. "You can exhale through it," the medic whispers. It dulls the edge. The woman huffs softly, tries, adjusts. "Like that?" she asks. "Yes." A pause. "You sound like you've done this before," the woman adds. The medic doesn't answer right away. She cleans her hands again. The sound of water is almost soothing. "I don't give instructions I haven't tested," she says finally. Silence settles, the kind that doesn't beg to be filled. Minutes pass. The woman breaks it first. "When you look at me," she says quietly, "you don't look angry." The medic tapes the last edge, smooths it down. "I compartmentalize," she replies. That's not an answer. It's the only one that works. Another pause. The woman exhales slowly, pain catching up in waves now. "People think I don't feel it," she says. "They think power makes you numb." The medic doesn't look up. "It just changes where it sits," she says. The woman's breath stutters, just once, a fracture, small, unnoticed by anyone else. "How do you know that?" she asks. The medic adjusts the pillow behind her back, purposeful, necessary. "Because numb people don't need control," she replies. "They already gave up." Silence stretches again. Longer this time. The city outside quiets further. Less traffic, fewer voices. Night shifts take over, the forgotten hours. The medic checks vitals again. Gentle, methodical. "You should sleep," she whispers. The woman lets out a quiet, humorless breath. "Sleep is where mistakes happen." "Sleep is where healing starts," the medic counters softly. Another pause. "You'll stay awake," the woman says. "For a while." That wasn't a question. The medic's hands still. She considers, then nods once. "For a while." The woman watches her from half-lidded eyes. "You don't tell stories," she observes. "I don't volunteer them." A faint smile curves the woman's mouth. "That's restraint," she says. "Most people mistake silence for emptiness." The medic finishes her check, steps back. "I don't," she replies. Minutes tick by, measured, slow. The woman's breathing evens out, then wavers again as pain flares. The medic notices immediately. She kneels closer, not touching yet. "Scale of 1 to 10, she whispers. "Don't," the woman murmurs. "Humor me." 6. The medic reaches out, this time touching with purpose only. Adjusts the wrap, applies pressure, counts quietly under her breath. 1, 2, 3. The woman exhales in time with her. By 7, the tension eases. By 10, the room feels different. Not safer. Just held. "You never asked who I was before this," the woman says quietly. "I didn't need to. And now?" The medic pauses. "Now I know who you chose to be." The woman absorbs that. And you? She asks. The medic doesn't answer immediately. She sits back on her heels, resting, not retreating. I chose to stay, she says simply. The woman's eyes close fully this time, just for a moment. Then we both made expensive choices tonight, she murmurs. Yes. Silence returns, thick, gentle, dangerous. The light hums, the city sleeps in pieces, and the viewer, unseen, unacknowledged, is allowed to stay here, in the quiet hours, where defenses soften and survival stops pretending it isn't lonely. It happens quietly. That's how real shifts always happen. The medic is seated on the floor now, back against the wall. Not close, not distant. Close enough to notice changes. Far enough to breathe. The woman wakes without sound. No gasp, no startle. Just awareness returning. Sharp, immediate. She watches the medic for a long moment before speaking. You're tired, she says. The medic doesn't look up. Everyone is. That's not the same thing. The medic exhales slowly, adjusts her position. You shouldn't be observing me, she says. You should be conserving energy. The woman studies her like she studies territory, not to admire it, but to understand what it costs to hold. You're not afraid, she says finally. The medic's brow creases slightly. Of what? Of me. The medic meets her eyes without urgency. I know what you can do, she replies. That's not the same as being afraid. The woman shifts, too quickly. Pain flares, her breath catches. The medic is up instantly. Not panicked, focused. Don't, she says quietly. You'll tear it. The woman stills, but something in her expression tightens. You should be afraid of me, she says. The words are low, controlled. A statement she has never had to prove. The medic doesn't flinch. I've treated people worse than you, she says calmly. They screamed more. The woman's jaw tightens. That's not what I meant. I know. Silence stretches. The woman looks away first. Toward the wall, the floor. Anywhere but the medic. That's a mistake, she says quietly. Seeing me like this. The medic checks the bandage again, gentle, exact. Bleeding people look the same, she replies. They all want to pretend they're not. The woman lets out a breath, sharp, frustrated. I am not. Invincible? The medic finishes softly. That lands. The woman's hand curls against the mattress. Not in pain. In restraint. I don't let people see this, she says. Ever. The medic nods once. I believe you. Another pause. And you still stayed? Yes. The woman turns back to her, eyes darker now. Not angry. Unsettled. You don't look at me like something that needs to be handled, she says. You look at me like something that hurts. The medic doesn't deny it. That's what wounds do, she replies. The woman laughs once, short, sharp. You reduce everything to anatomy, she says. It's how I survive. A beat. And what about when anatomy isn't enough? The woman asks. The medic considers that longer than she should. Then I stay anyway, she says. The woman stares at her. That, right there, is the crack. Not fear, not affection. Loss of certainty. Guns she understands. Threats she understands. This calm refusal to fear her. This steady presence that doesn't kneel or flee. It unnerves her. You don't know what you're inviting, she says quietly. The medic meets her gaze. I know exactly what I'm not inviting, she replies. And that's indifference. The woman exhales slowly. For the first time since the alley, her control slips. Not outwardly, but inward. You see me? She says. Not accusation, not praise. Statement. The medic doesn't soften. Yes. The woman swallows. That scares her more than the gunfire ever did. Because power means nothing when the person in front of you isn't afraid to witness your weakness and stay. The city outside shifts again. Morning inches closer. Inside, something irreversible realigns. Not romance, not trust, but exposure. And she doesn't know how to weaponize that yet. The room is quieter than it has been, but tension hangs thicker than ever. The woman, still seated, still calculating every movement, breaks the silence first. "You think this is just about survival," she says, voice low, almost a growl. "Don't pretend you're here only for professionalism." The medic pauses mid-motion, hands stilling over the bandages, eyes steady, not shameful, not nervous, controlled. "I'm here because you're bleeding," she says evenly, "and because someone had to stay." "Someone," the Queen repeats slowly, almost tasting the word. "Not someone like you." A pause stretches long, thick, dangerous. "You're thinking what I'm thinking?" the woman continues. "Admit it." The medic exhales quietly, one slow breath. "Yes," she admits. Whispered, careful, neutral, but true. Exactly that. A shiver of acknowledgement passes through the Queen, but it's not pleasure. It's calculation. A recognition of what this means. "You know the cost," she says, each word deliberate. "The price of staying this close, of letting someone see this." "I do," the medic replies calmly. "And I still chose it." A sharp exhale. The Queen's hand curls slightly at her side. Pain isn't the only thing she feels. The risk. The exposure. "Then you know," she says finally, voice tighter. "I can't afford you. Not like this." "I know," the medic agrees, "and that's why I stay anyway." The words hang between them, acknowledged, forbidden, dangerous, denied in practice, but admitted in truth. Another pause. The city outside stirs faintly, distant engines, footsteps echoing. A sound too precise to be random. The Queen rises slowly, leaning against the wall for leverage, the sound of boots on concrete outside. Faster, closer, coordinated. "Movement," she mutters under her breath. "Someone's coming." The medic doesn't flinch, hands back in position over the supplies, ready. The Queen steps closer, her own body betraying nothing. But her voice lowers, sharper, more deliberate. "They suspect you," she says. "They're going to ask questions about why you didn't follow orders." "And what will you do?" the medic asks quietly. Her calm cuts through the tension like a scalpel. The Queen studies her for a long, careful beat. Every decision compressed into milliseconds of calculation. Every instinct, every lesson, every betrayal she's survived flashing before her eyes. "I protect you," she says finally, "even if it costs everything I built." Another pause. Heavy. "But if they find out," she continues, softer this time, almost to herself, "I'll have to make a choice I won't forgive myself for." The medic doesn't reply. She doesn't need to. Presence alone is enough. Outside, the sounds of engines and footsteps grow louder. The threat is immediate, physical, real, alive. The Queen leans down slightly, voice nearly a whisper. "You're too dangerous to me, and I can't lose what I've never had." The medic meets her gaze evenly, calm, precise. "And you won't," she says. "You won't lose me. Not tonight." The Queen exhales slowly, acknowledging the truth of it, and the weight of what she has to decide presses down hard, heavier than any gun in the city, heavier than any wound, heavier than any crown she has ever worn. The night stretches further. Outside, danger closes in. Inside, desire is acknowledged, but unclaimed. Survival has never felt this personal. The sound of approaching engines fades, but tension doesn't. The Queen steps fully into the center of the room. every movement measured, controlled, lethal in its stillness. She stops a few feet from the medic, eyes sharp, calculating, the weight of the night, the city, the choices hangs around her like smoke. "You think you chose to stay?" she says, voice low, steady. "But I'm the one making the rules now." The medic tilts her head slightly, steady. No fear, no flinch, just presence. The Queen exhales, a sound that doesn't belong to relief or affection. It belongs to power, ownership. "You're untouchable," she says, slow, deliberate. "Not because I like you, not because I care." Her eyes scan the medic, sharp and unyielding, "because no one crosses me to reach you." The words land with gravity, heavier than bullets, heavier than blood. This is territory, not tenderness, not invitation. "You are not mine," the Queen continues, "and I will not claim you as mine." She steps closer. Inches, a calculated proximity that imposes presence without permission. "But if anyone tries, they will answer to me. Every time." The medic doesn't blink, doesn't lean, just holds space. The silence is thick, heavy, dangerous. "This is not affection," the Queen says again. Her voice drops, sharper. "This is possession, control, protection, because I can, and because I refuse to lose to anyone who would take you from me." The medic exhales quietly, slowly. A single, deliberate breath. "And if the world ends tonight?" she asks softly. The question is both challenge and curiosity. And the Queen leans just slightly, not touching, not softening, just asserting. "You survive tonight," she says. "You breathe another morning, it will be under my shadow. Not because I want you, because I claim you. As untouchable." A beat. "Do you understand?" she asks, voice almost velvet but edged with steel. The medic meets her eyes evenly. "I understand." Silence stretches again. The city waits outside. Engines idle. Footsteps retreat. Threats remain. Inside they exist in a fragile balance. Not love, not desire, not comfort. Possession, survival, control. The Queen steps back, assessing, calculating. Every inch, every movement measured. And in that deliberate claiming, darker than romance, heavier than desire, the paramedic becomes hers. Not through affection, but through an unshakable declaration, untouchable, territory, sacred, dangerous. The room settles again, but it's a false calm, the kind that comes right before impact. The Queen has turned away, checking the door, the corners, the angles. Control reasserted, mask back in place. The medic watches her for a long moment, longer than necessary. "This is where I leave," the Queen says, voice steady, already planning 3 steps ahead. "And this is where you disappear." The medic doesn't move. "No," she says quietly. The Queen pauses, turns slightly. "Just enough. That wasn't a suggestion." "I know." Silence stretches. Dangerous again, but different. "I didn't just save you," the medic continues, voice low, careful. "I need you to understand that." The Queen's eyes narrow. "I heard you the first time." "No," the medic says. "You didn't." She steps closer, not touching. Never touching without purpose. "I could have walked away," she says. "I knew exactly who you were, what you've done, what it would cost." The Queen's jaw tightens. "And I still chose you," the medic finishes. "Not the situation, not the moment. You." The words land heavier than anything else tonight. The Queen turns fully now. "That's a mistake," she says immediately. Sharp, defensive, almost angry. "Maybe," the medic replies calmly. "But it was mine." A beat. The Queen inhales. Slow, controlled, but something fractures beneath it. "You don't choose people like me," she says. You survive us. The medic shakes her head slightly. I've survived enough, she says. This was different. Silence stretches, thin as wire. For a moment, just one, the Queen's control slips. She begins. Her voice lowers, drops something dangerous. I never planned to. The alarm screams, sharp, violent, immediate. A gunshot cracks, too close, too real. Metal slams somewhere above them. Contact! A voice shouts outside. The Queen reacts instantly, hand reaching, body turning, instincts snapping back into place. Get down, she orders. Another shot. Lights flicker. Footsteps thunder toward the door. The confession dies unfinished. Words swallowed by noise. Truth buried under urgency. The last thing the medic hears before chaos overtakes the room, before hands grab, before the world fractures again, is the Queen's voice, sharp with something that sounds dangerously close to fear. Stay alive. Noise collapses into distance, not silence. Focus. The world narrows to breath, pressure, proximity. The medic is on the ground, not helpless, braced, heart steady despite the chaos above. Boots thunder, voices overlap, orders barked with urgency and fear. Then, suddenly, everything stops. Not because the danger is gone, because it's been claimed. The room feels different, charged, held. The medic looks up. The Queen is standing over her now. Not wounded, not exposed, not uncertain, centered. Whatever just happened outside, whatever choice was made in seconds the medic didn't see, it ended with authority, with finality. The Queen crouches, not close enough to touch, but close enough that the air changes. Her voice drops, not loud, not soft, certain. This doesn't happen twice, she says. The medic swallows, meets her gaze. I know. The Queen studies her, really studies her. Not as a liability, not as a resource, as something singular. Something that cost her more than blood. You didn't hesitate, the Queen says quietly, when you should have. The medic exhales, calm, honest. I don't hesitate with things I choose. That does it. The Queen's jaw tightens, not in anger, in restraint. She reaches out, not to touch skin, not to claim comfort, but to anchor. Two fingers briefly press against the medic's shoulder. Purposeful, grounding, intimate because it isn't indulgent. If you survive this, the Queen says, voice low, steady, irrevocable. If you walk out of tonight breathing, a pause, heavy, deliberate. You belong to me. Not as a threat, not as a promise of safety, as a truth that rewrites the future. The medic doesn't pull away. She doesn't nod. She simply holds the Queen's gaze and answers with the only thing that matters. Then don't let me die. The Queen straightens. Above them, the city roars back to life. Sirens, engines, violence resuming its endless cycle. But between them, something else locks into place. Not love. Not yet. Something darker, deeper. A bond forged in blood, choice, and refusal to let go. The Queen turns toward the door, toward the war waiting outside. Stay behind me, she orders. The medic does. Not because she's afraid, because she trusts the claim. The door opens. Light floods in. And the story ends exactly where it must. Not with resolution, not with safety, but with two women walking into danger already bound together by a choice neither of them can undo. Silence. End